Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Make sure you grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and let's talk some boxing. I've got coffee this morning because I think I need that extra buzz. But anyway, Tony Bellew has spoke about Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But also one thing that has been announced by Top Rank is this fight will have to be agreed in 30 days with regards to the site, and if it is not, then this deal goes away. So both parties need to agree where this fight will take place within the next 30 days, otherwise this deal is off the table. So that is something that needs to be wrapped up, and with great importance also. According to Eddie Hearn, there have been several offers from different places around the world, 9 different territories I believe he explained. The likes of Asia, the likes of the Middle East and America, those are the kind of places that are involved with negotiations for staging this fight. In my opinion, I believe it's going to go to Saudi. I've said that from the very beginning and I'm sticking by it. I think that that is where the fight will end up. But still, at least we know where we are with this fight. It's signed, but still, something needs to be sorted out within the next 30 days. Now, let's talk about what Tony Bellew explained about this fight between AJ and Fury. And before people start saying that he explained Anthony Joshua is like Mike Tyson, he didn't actually say that. He said that Mike Tyson set the world alight with regards to boxing, and he was able to stand on the world stage and everyone would watch him. It was like boxing was the biggest sport because of Mike Tyson, and he believes that Anthony Joshua can take boxing to that place. So he's not necessarily comparing Anthony Joshua to Mike Tyson, but he's saying that AJ is getting close to that point where people will watch him whether they are fans of boxing or not, because that is very important in sports in general. You need to be able to get a big crowd, and not all of them are going to be hardcore fans of that sport. Football can do it with, I guess, the Champions League or an FA Cup final, things like that, and I guess MMA can do it as well with a big fight. There are other sports, but anyway, Tony Bellew explained the most world-renowned sportsperson is Muhammad Ali, and he is a boxer, and we need to see boxing get back to those levels. This fight can take boxing back to a place where it was before, when Mike Tyson was around, when Muhammad Ali was around, where fans would watch the fight whether they were boxing fans or not. That is where the sport needs to be. And then after the big fight, they would still be fans of boxing. Now, if we talk about the actual fight between AJ and Fury, Tony Bellew broke it down and explained that AJ is the only person in the heavyweight division who is capable of beating Tyson Fury because he's fast on his feet, he has fast, sharp combinations, he's an explosive puncher as well, and he has that killer instinct to go after Tyson Fury when he gets him hurt. He also explained that AJ needs to get him in the first 6 rounds, otherwise he won't beat Tyson Fury. Now, he also spoke about the fact that Mike Tyson was a big power puncher, and Deontay Wilder had that kind of power, but he wasn't good enough technically in boxing to be able to make it count, especially in there with an elite level heavyweight like Tyson Fury. And I would have to agree with Tony Bellew on that. I don't necessarily agree with all of what Tony Bellew is saying about AJ and Fury. He is of course AJ's friend, so he's going to be slightly biased anyway. We know that he got in trouble with Sky Sports, I believe, for being too Derek Chisora against Usyk. So he does have a tendency to be biased, and we have to look at that when he breaks this fight down, but I do agree with some of the things that he's saying, just not all of it. The part that sticks out for me is the fact that he explained AJ needs to get to him within the first 6 rounds, otherwise Tyson Fury wins it. So essentially, AJ in the first 6 rounds or Tyson Fury in the last 6 rounds. That is kind of what Tony Bellew is getting at. Now, the thing is about Tyson Fury going late in fights and AJ going late in fights is AJ has been in situations where he's not been in control in those championship rounds, and that costs him dearly. Tyson Fury has never been in that situation, aside from the Deontay Wilder fight, and a handful of fights early on in his career against lower level oppositions who he should be beating. Let's talk about it like it's at world level, like the Deontay Wilders, like the Vladimir Klitschko's, the Andy Ruiz's, the Joseph Parkers, those kind of fights. When AJ is in control, he doesn't get tired, especially going down the stretch. Tyson Fury has rarely been in that position, and Deontay Wilder, which is what Tony Bellew alluded to, has the power to stop Tyson Fury, but he doesn't have the technical ability to go after him and finish him off. So therefore, what Tyson Fury is able to do is maintain control late on in the fight. When things like that start happening, he is able to get back into control, and that aids him a lot because then he can slip and slide, he can stay in there, he can be tough, he can be rough, but also he can avoid those big shots, and that is very important for Tyson Fury. Have we ever seen him in there with a world level operator who can punch, who can box, who can move, who is explosive, and has great combinations, and maintain control going through 12 rounds, and when it does get sticky, can he still stay in there? In my opinion, Tyson Fury has all it takes to do that, but the question is, can he do it in there with Anthony Joshua, who has that predatory instinct to go after him when he gets him hurt, and has the technical ability to finish him off? So that is a question mark there for Tyson Fury to answer in this undisputed fight. Can he do that? Can he not? We will find out. And with AJ, can he deal with someone who's bigger, who moves well, and technically is as gifted as a Tyson Fury, and completely unconventional and unpredictable? And in those last 6 rounds for him, how is he going to deal with it? We spoke about Tyson Fury and the fact that he's never been in that situation that AJ has been in, where for a couple of rounds he's losing rounds and he has to find his way back in. Tyson Fury, of course, has been dropped a couple of times in those championship rounds, but he still manages to continue. That is against Deontay Wilder, who again doesn't have that technical ability to put the punches together necessary to stop his man. AJ does have that, but AJ does have those question marks definitely about those last 6 rounds. And those questions have been answered in the Pulev fight and the Ruiz fight. In Pulev fight, he was able to still go after him and get the knockout, but Pulev is not Tyson Fury. Andy Ruiz is not Tyson Fury. 2 completely different styles to Fury, in fact. So with Ruiz, what Anthony Joshua needed to do was box him. Ruiz recently come out and explained that AJ's performance was not explosive, it was not exciting, just like his win over AJ himself. But AJ needed to box him because that's AJ's number 1 in there with someone like Ruiz. If he fights the way Ruiz wants to fight, then that's giving things away. He doesn't need to do that. That's not what boxing is about. Boxing is about finding the best game plan for yourself, but also taking things away from your opponent. This is chess and not checkers, and that is something that Floyd Mayweather explained to Anthony Joshua before the Pulev fight. And that is so true and very important, that they maintain that kind of control. This sport takes more technical ability than just being able to go in there and trade up close and with a big right hand. It's great if a fighter can do that because Ruiz is brilliant, but what happens when someone does box him like AJ did? That is when all of the things that make Ruiz look explosive, fast, powerful, and exciting, that is when those things are taken away. That is when he needs to show that he can adjust. That is something also of which Tyson Fury and AJ have proven they can do. They can adjust. The big question is about those last 6 rounds with AJ, is how is he going to deal with it when there's someone like Tyson Fury in front of him? A fighter with a style AJ has never faced before, and vice versa as well. Let's not forget that Tyson Fury has never faced anyone like AJ. So they both will have to learn on the job in some respect, use all of the experiences they have gathered during their pro careers and amateur as well, and put it all in the ring. But there will still be certain moments where both fighters will have to learn on the job, and those last 6 rounds could be vital. How does Tyson Fury deal with that when he's not necessarily in control for those last 6 rounds? And how does Anthony Joshua deal with those last 6 rounds when we've seen him do it before against the likes of Parker, Ruiz in the second fight, and for 3 of those last 6 rounds against Pulev? But this is Tyson Fury. He can box, he can move. He's shown in his last fight he can fight up close as well, make it rough and make it tough. How does AJ deal with someone who will start walking him down in those final 6 rounds, who will not allow him to take a round off, to take a break, to have a breather when he needs it? Fury, if he thinks that AJ is getting tired, will step on him. I believe what Fury will try and do is make Anthony Joshua frustrated early on and take away those first couple of rounds from AJ. Then AJ will feel like he needs to chase the fight, and that is when Tyson Fury's game plan will come into it, because he will want AJ to tire himself out, especially in those mid rounds. Then Tyson Fury can step on the gas when AJ has that dip that he's had before in his career, so that he can go after AJ and potentially stop him. Because we've seen in other fights in AJ's career that when he does put a lot in those early rounds, he does need that break in the middle. He needs at least a round off. He needs to be able to catch a breather in between. He has been heavier though when that does happen, and as I said, he does sometimes put a lot into those early rounds. Then he does kind of need a round off. What Tyson Fury will expect to do is when that happens, he will step on the gas and he will not allow Anthony Joshua to have that breather. So It works as a complete game plan for the full 12 rounds. If he can get AJ to be frustrated, to miss, and make him pay, but then go and chase the fight when he feels he's behind, then put a lot into rounds 4, 5, and 6, then AJ might get tired and Tyson Fury still has the gas tank to go the full 12. When AJ needs that breather, when he has that dip, that is when a Fury will look to step on him and try and get the stoppage, or at least win those last few rounds and still get the victory on the scorecards. So you can see that the game plans will come into it, and those last 6 rounds will be vital, but I don't necessarily agree with Tony Bellew that AJ needs to win it in the first 6 rounds to win this fight, otherwise it's Tyson Fury's fight to win. I believe that there are still questions that Tyson Fury needs to answer in those last 6 rounds. And that is when someone sticks with him. When Anthony Joshua wants to get up close and work to the body, that is what he will do. He won't necessarily want to just box there with Tyson Fury because that's Tyson Fury's game. Tyson Fury will pick him off. So AJ will want to get close. He'll want to get on the inside, work up close, be rough, be tough, because he is the inside fighter in this fight. We spoke about Andy Ruiz and the fact that AJ needed to maintain that distance. So Ruiz couldn't do that to AJ. In this fight, AJ is the one who needs to get close. AJ is the one who needs to use his footwork, his speed, his movement, and his explosive power and combinations to get up close and work to the body and to the head of a Tyson Fury, to vary his punches, to make sure that Tyson Fury does not know what to expect next. And also what that does is it means Tyson Fury cannot do that double feint. He cannot allow himself a moment to set himself, because Tyson Fury does do that. When he's feinting, he's looking for angles, he's looking for things that can open his opponent up. If AJ is on him, not allowing him to do that, then Tyson Fury has that part of his game taken away. Therefore, AJ will look to utilise mid-range and a close range, up on the inside, and fighting at that mid-distance so that Tyson Fury cannot get any leverage onto his punches, because he is a tall guy, he's a big guy. So if AJ is at range, as we said, Tyson Fury will pick him off. But if AJ does not allow him to keep him on the end of those punches, then that takes something else away from Tyson Fury. That is very important at this level, taking things away from their opponents. AJ understands that, Tyson Fury understands that. And knowing boxing, what will happen is it will be Anthony Joshua late, or it will be Tyson Fury early. You can guarantee that that will happen. What you expect to happen won't be the thing that happens. That is what is so great about boxing, and we've seen it so many times in the past. What you expect to happen usually doesn't happen in the boxing ring. We will get that again in Undisputed. These are 2 elite level heavyweights coming together to see who is number 1. The unexpected is undoubtedly going to happen when these 2 step in the ring. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.